Let's talk about gold. Now, gold as an asset has been on an absolute tear on the markets. It's doing an unprecedented price rally. But besides that, besides the market asset, there are also a lot of interesting angles and perspectives around gold, around how it works in the collective consciousness. People are talking about a potential new golden age. There's always calls for the reintroduction of the gold standard. And all of this, to understand it, we have to look at the whole picture, at the holistic picture. We have to understand the archetypal patterns, the archetypal cycles. That will allow us not just to make some predictions about the asset gold and its market behavior, but also to understand more about our own collective evolution, conscious evolution, the evolution of our consciousness. So all of that we're going to do in this video. Let's go. All right, so we're going to look at gold, everything about gold as an investment asset and as an asset in the global economy, as a reserve in the global economy, but also at the metaphysical and spiritual dimension which sustains gold, right? Because we're looking at things from the archetypal perspective here. That's really what astrology is. If you're just using astrology to make little predictions up and down and so on, okay, fine, you do you. But you're missing 90% of what astrology can, 99% of what astrology can do. Astrology is really a lens to understand the underlying spiritual dynamics that shape collective evolution, right? So gold has been doing really well in these last couple of years. Since 2022, it's almost doubled in price. And it's just kind of performing extremely well in a very, very uncertain environment, right? The world is very what's called VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And in this climate, well, gold is kind of fulfilling its function as an anchor, flight to safety. People go to safety when there's a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, Bitcoin was supposed to be that as well. It's looking like there are first signs now in 2025 that Bitcoin is starting to fulfill that function. The latest tariff war scare and the market volatility that happened, Bitcoin was doing pretty well, stood up pretty well. It didn't have all that much volatility, right? So Bitcoin is vying for that spot to be gold, to take that spot away from gold. This is something that we're going to look at in this video. I'm going to talk about that. Do we think that this is possible? What's the long-term prospect? Is it possible that gold is replaced by Bitcoin, right? Is it not? What's the relationship between the two? If you want to invest in safety, would you go to gold or Bitcoin? And also, what type of society are you going to get with these? Because obviously, a lot of this depends on where we evolve to as a species and as a society, right? It's related to which assets we use. So the relationship, all of this we're going to talk about in this video, right? I'm going to decode this for you. And as also, I'm going to give you a couple of answers on some really interesting questions that may be top of your mind right now with regards to gold. I'm gonna already tell you what we do in this video. So we're going to look at some very important constellations coming up this summer, right, which is going to give us some hint into where things is going. And I'm also going to talk about Fort Knox. We're going to talk about Fort Knox. Is there gold in Fort Knox or not? I'm going to give you some really interesting insights on that. Or is there missing? Is gold missing, right? That's been a big debate that we've had. And then the relationship with Bitcoin, right, which I mentioned already. So let's start with the relationship with Bitcoin, though. This is really interesting. So Bitcoin has been marketed as digital gold, right? Digital gold. That's what people are saying. The proponents of Bitcoin are presenting it as digital gold. To be honest, I'm not sure if that's the best way to present it. That's what I was initially thinking. I'm not sure if that's the best way to present it because you're basically always putting it as a second, right, to gold. You're saying, like, you have gold. Real gold, actual gold is still there, so why do you need digital gold, right? It's a little bit like gold. So Bitcoin, as long as it's presented as digital gold, calling it digital gold is doing a little bit of a disservice to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually something different. The energies are different, right? Now, archetypically, astrologically, the energies involved, and this is also when you want to look at astrology charts, at asset, you want to do financial astrology, you need to know which planet or which principle rules which asset, okay? And Bitcoin is ruled by Uranus, right? Uranus. So Uranus, those are both ways you can say it. So Uranus is about what? Is about progress, revolution, technology, social innovation, all of these things which are all Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin is all of that. Is like social innovation, technology, right? It's like the quintessential Uranus thing, right? So that's Bitcoin. And gold is different. Gold is ruled by the sun, Leo and sun, right? Because gold is basically the truth that God has given. That's what it stands for archetypically. Like it's what you go back, the value that is shining out of itself and from itself, that doesn't need any explanation. You see it and you know it, it's valuable. Oh, that's gold, right? It's like the sun that is just there. And that has been given by God. It's not man-made, right? Whereas all the currencies, the fiat currencies, all the fiat currencies in the world, they're all man-made. They're all hot air. They're all speculation. They're all backed by whatever they're backed by in the moment, right? But you can't really count on them to stay what they are, right? And obviously, this is the truth. This has happened with the gold standard being abolished. When the gold standard was abolished, so until the gold standard was in place, the U.S. dollar was tied with gold, was pegged to gold, and it was something you could count on, right? You'd always know it was safe, right? It was a safe asset. The dollar was a safe asset. And then there was an ominous day in 1971, right, when August 15th of 1971, when Richard Nixon abandoned the gold standard. And basically, since then, we're in this mess that we're in right now, where gold is, gold is fine. Gold is perfectly fine. With the U.S. dollar has basically lost most of its value. Like, it's ridiculous when you just think about it, when you look at it. The best way to think about this maybe, or to look at it, is by seeing the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which shows you goods getting more expensive, right? So if you see this here, this is in 1971, right? This is right around here when the dollar is depegged from gold. And until then, it's pretty much stable. Everything costs the same, roughly. It stays the same. And then since then, it goes absolutely through the roof, right? You see here, and then here, after COVID, it just starts to go parabolic, right? And this is basically means that everything gets more expensive, more and more expensive, right? Mortgages, houses, and so you have all the stories with the boomers being able to afford on one salary. They could just have a whole family. They buy a house, just coming straight out of college, taking a job, and then have all that stuff. And this is absolutely impossible or unimaginable for millennials and Gen Z. They live in a world where that's not possible. And so a lot of it is to do with what I just showed you. It's basically the depegging of dollar to gold. And this happened everywhere else in the world too, because basically all the governments are printing money and stuff is getting more and more expensive. The value of the money is inflationary, right? It's decreasing. Whereas gold is not decreasing. Gold is just going absolutely through the roof. I just showed you this. I don't know if you've seen, you've seen the charts, yourself. I don't know if I need to show you the charts, but just here to have a look. So you see here, basically this is gold versus US dollar. And this is crazy. Like it's just going parabolic. It's, I think, since 1971, the dollar has lost 98% of its value versus gold, right? And there's no end in sight to this right now because, as I just said, gold is given by God. It's there as a value that we can always rely on. It's the truth, basically. It stands for the truth. Whereas the dollar or other fiat currencies, they're just hot air. They're just speculation, right? They're just created out of thin air for whatever purposes that just exist in the moment, in that day, right? So that being said, there is a future for gold that Bitcoin cannot take away, right? Bitcoin, as this Uranus-driven thing, cannot take that function away unless if Bitcoin develops that capability to become a guarantor of truth, of value and truth, right? Which it doesn't have right now. Theoretically, it does. The blockchain can be this this chain or this ledger that has everything that ever happened, and that becomes like your reference point for truth, right? That's actually the idea behind blockchain. But it's not nowhere near that right now. It doesn't do that right now. It doesn't have that function, right? It's just speculative right now. Right now, blockchain or Bitcoin is just ruled by Uranus, right? But it is possible that in the coming years, there will be a shift and Bitcoin will start being ruled by both Uranus and Sun, right? When it becomes a guarantor of truth, right? Then things will change. When could this happen? So let's look at this. And then also this allows us to understand the gold price and the gold dynamics, right? Right now, let's look at the macro astrology. Right now, we have Pluto going through Aquarius, right? Pluto is going through Aquarius. You notice this just started as a transit that started 24, right? 24, 25 has started, and it goes all the way till 2043. So a long-term transit, right? And now Aquarius is what? Is about Uranus, right? It's technology, progress, innovation. Power struggles, Pluto is going to Aquarius. There's going to be a lot of power struggles around technology, around these, censorship on social media, and who has the stronger AI, who has the better AI, who has the, manipulation in crypto. All of this is Pluto and Aquarius. But at the same time, so Aquarius is opposed to Leo. Leo is on the other side. It's opposite Leo, right? Okay, so what does that mean? Leo is the ruler of Sun, and Sun is gold. So does it mean it's bad for gold, right? Is it bad for gold? Well, it could be, because the power is now with Aquarius. In these 20 years that we're in right now, right? In these 18 years, the power is with tech. So that means archetypically the power should go more and more towards Bitcoin as opposed to gold, right? Now, however, this is important. We have to understand when we have a transit like this, like Pluto going through Aquarius, this is a long process. It's 18 years. And typically, in the beginning phases of that transit, we're going to see more of the negative effects. So Pluto going through Aquarius is in the beginning phases, we see more of the negative effects. Negative effects, censorship, battles around AI, AI being weaponized, brain-computer interfaces being introduced to control people or whatever, right? This is basically Pluto and Aquarius, the bad effect. CBDCs being introduced to control people. 2025, the first CBDCs will be introduced, right? European Union is going to introduce as well. Now, in the first part of these 18 years, and then as the time progresses, we should be seeing, or there's the potential to see more and more of the positive effects coming out. We can see more and more of the positive effects of Pluto going through Aquarius, right? The liberation through technology, emancipation, decentralization, basically, people being liberated. There's being liberated from state oppression, more individual freedoms, more people freedom, more also freedom of communities that get together themselves. All of this is like the positive side of Pluto going through Aquarius. And when the positive side comes through, then we could see potentially Bitcoin taking the function of gold as a guarantor of truth, right? This is one potential scenario. And if that happens, we could see Bitcoin flip gold, right? So that would be 2032, 2036, 2032, around those bull markets, the Bitcoin bull cycles that are coming there, right? But anyways, I'm not expecting this to happen anytime soon. And I'm not seeing any reason right now to think that the gold rally is about to end, right? On the contrary, I'm going to tell you about Fort Knox now. Fort Knox, and as the very, very important constellation that's coming up in this summer, that's going to be very important for the future of gold and what happens with gold in a global stage, right?
Guys, a quick notice. We just launched the Ultrasapien Ascension Report, which is a completely revolutionary PDF report that is based on your astrology and your numerology with your unique combo of your name and your birth details, and it gives you a mind-blowing insight. Everybody who's seen it so far has been absolutely blown away by the level of accuracy and the detail that it gives you in decoding your cosmic blueprint. And this is not like readings that you may see online anywhere else, because every single word in the Ascension Report is tailor-made for you, and it's based on our proprietary database. This is not your, run-of-the-mill general stuff that you get in the astrology apps and so on and so forth. And for now, just for a short time, I'm giving an initial special offer for the YouTube fam, like a loyalty bonus of 50% discount on the Ascension report. It's usually $77. That's what it retails at, but you're gonna get it at $38.50 if you go on ultrasapien.network and you apply the coupon code YouTube50. So best thing to do, accelerate your Ascension, get the Ascension report.
The first one, actually let me show you this one first. The first one I'm going to show you is a constellation. This is in this summer, right? This is for 2025. I've got here July 25, but this is just basically in summer, this summer. So this summer, you're going to have Jupiter in Cancer. You see here, Jupiter in Cancer, and it's going to be together with the asteroids Gold and America. Okay, and where is it? This is an important degree, the 10th degree of Cancer. The 10th degree of Cancer. Why is it important? Two reasons. There's a fixed star there called Sirius. It's an extremely important fixed star. Well, probably one of the two most important, Regulus and Sirius, right? Sirius is an extremely important fixed star. And secondly, the sun of the United States is there as well in the U.S. independence chart, Sibley chart, right? So this means this Jupiter here, there's going to be Jupiter with Gold, with America, conjunct Sirius, conjunct the sun of USA, right? So what does it mean? This is just very, very clear image that this is the most clear image possible of a golden age in the US, right? Jupiter goes on the sun, Sirius is there, Sirius elevates everything, makes it cosmic, gives a cosmic message, cosmic direction to things. And then there is the asteroids Gold in America, right? So golden age in America, in Washington, right? You could think about what could this be? What could this be? Well, there is one way that this could manifest in some very, very real things. And that's another possibility, right? There's another possibility for how this whole development between gold and fiat and digital currencies is going to go. Namely, there is a possibility, I'm putting this out there right now, there's one possibility that the gold standard is reintroduced. The Trump administration reintroduces the gold standard. People were saying BRICS is going to do that. BRICS is going to reintroduce a BRICS currency connected with gold and other assets. What if Trump is thinking 5D chess here, his famous 5D chess, and he goes and he does it before BRICS does it. He does it before BRICS does it, right? But not just by taking the US dollar, putting it on gold, but rather how he would do it, how I see it more likely, with all of this strong crypto team that he has. What if they take US stable coins, US based, US dollar based stable coins, and they connect them with gold. They back them up with gold. They peg them with gold so that you have basically a hybrid system utilizing crypto and gold, right, to establish a new currency or a new currency system that can continue the fact of US dollar being the currency that everybody uses in the world, right? Because that's still the case. We count things in US dollar. When we talk about Bitcoin, we say it's $85,000 right now, right? We don't say it's euro or any other currency, ruble or whatever, right? We count in dollars. And this would be a way to make this continue. So I'm going to just show, what I just showed you is there's going to be a golden age, a golden summer in the US, right? Specifically around gold, the idea of connecting the value of gold to America and establishing American power and glory with gold. This is going to be big in Washington this summer, right? So there's going to be some moves happening around this. Obviously, this is extremely bullish for gold, right? So that's one thing. The second thing that I'm going to show you is, okay, you're going to say then, but Trump, can he do this? The Fed won't allow it. The Fed will never allow this, right? Of course, the Fed won't. But if you follow my channel, you know that I told you long time already, I told you in January, I showed you the charts and I told you the Fed is going to have huge problems this year. And the Fed might even be dissolved. It's possible that it gets dissolved this year. Dissolution, right? It's definitely in the books. I showed you the charts of Jerome Powell, showed you the charts of the Fed and so on. Back in January. I'm not going to go back there again. Second thing, it's definitely in the books. Definitely a possibility, right? The second thing is that if Trump administration decides to do this, what will they have to do? They will have to check the gold that's there. They will have to check how much gold they have, right? So what's going to be absolutely necessary is to do a audit at Fort Knox, right? Fort Knox audit. So Fort Knox audit, you know that, Ron Paul has been talking about this for a long time. And Elon Musk picked this up again with Doge. He said, we're going to go in there, we're going to check it. Audit has never happened, like God knows, when they last checked it. And what happens if they go there? What are they going to discover? What are they going to discover? So there's a chart we can look at. This chart is a chart for when Fort Knox was established as the reserve, location. And this was in 1937, right? I just looked it up. It's in 1937, January 15. This is when it was decided that Fort Knox would become this. Before it was just a military fort, right? Before it was decided that it was become a gold reserve, a central gold reserve, right? And now when you look at this chart, it looks great. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Sun opposite Pluto, these very powerful interests that are constellated here. And there's something that's strange. Saturn opposite Neptune. And we have Saturn Neptune this year. Saturn opposite Neptune stands for this is very fishy. This is like dissolution of truth, right? There is some dissolution of truth going on here. Massive, large scale dissolution of truth, right? There's also some things that make it very clear that this chart is correct. For instance, you have here Regulus, the star Regulus, with gold, right? And they're both opposite moon. So that makes a lot of sense. The gold of the people is here. The gold of the people, right? Moon is people, is kept here, right? It's kept far away from the people, but it's kept there, right? And then you got Jupiter with America. Remember, this is going to happen again this summer. In summer 2025, we're going to have again Jupiter with the asteroid America. And then you have here on the sun, the same sun that was opposite Pluto that I showed you, right? So there's some big powers, some very big power interests that are involved in this that I showed you. And then this sun, it has with a couple of asteroids. It's with Abundancia. It stands for abundance. Okay, makes sense, right? Abundance. And then there is Ate. Ate stands for conspiracies. And Fantomas stands for basically charlatans. Charlatans who pull some tricks and stuff, right? This is what it stands for, a phantom. Fantomas was this figure who was like a very smart charlatan criminal, something like that, gentleman criminal. And now abundance, Ate, Fantomas. This is just a nail in the coffin for me to tell me that in the chart of Fort Knox, it already written that there has been some large-scale deception that's been going on in this thing. Large-scale, massive deception that we don't know about, that nobody knows about, right? It's like very, very deep, deep, deep layers of power that are involved in this level of deception, right? So now, when I put this together, this looks to me, and then remember also that this year we have Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which means deceptions are revealed, right? Truth comes out because the lies stop working, right? Calling BS on the lies, I called it before here. This year is going to happen. And you had the Saturn-Neptune opposition in the Fort Knox chart as well. So it makes perfect sense from an archetypal cycles perspective that this year it's going to be a topic. It's going to be a big theme, right? So now, what could happen if whoever, Elon Musk or whoever is going to be, get the mission to do this, goes in there and they find out that gold is missing? They find out gold is missing. Well, a couple of things could happen. Market panic, supply shocks, right? There could be, There could be people rushing into getting gold. Obviously, the government might already prepare for this by getting their gold back or buying gold globally before they can even announce this, right? Before they announce this, they would have to make sure to acquire the necessary gold, right? And all of this is just extremely bullish for gold. Extremely bullish. It couldn't be more bullish, right? It couldn't be more bullish. Imagine they want to go in there, they prove that they want to establish a gold standard or reestablish a gold standard, bring more gold, into reserves, and it turns out there's some gold missing there, right? And they need to acquire this gold. They need to acquire this gold on the global market, right? Where can they acquire it? Interestingly, this is just an interesting trivia side note. 25% of the global gold is in Indian households. Indian households have more than 3 times, I think something like 25 metric tons, and the US as a government has 8 metric tons, right? Indian households have a lot of gold, but that's another story. So they're going to be doing well with this. So again, let me recap this and put this together. So I think that first, apart from, I didn't mention this at all right now, but it's okay. Apart from a little shock, there might be some corrections. It's overdue for a correction right now, right? There could be a correction. There's some geopolitical shocks coming that could see a correction for gold. But apart from that, the midterm, long term, the next 3, 4, 5 years, a perspective, prospects is very, very bullish for me, right? I would see it very bullish with all the uncertainty going on, all the uncertainty getting even more in these years, and all the stuff that I just showed you, with people going and creating probably potentially some hybrid models with gold and digital assets over the next couple of years to counter the CBDC folks, which is a very likely scenario, very possible scenario, whether it comes from the Trump admin or whether it comes from BRICS or whoever, right? This is a possible scenario. All of this is extremely bullish for gold. Although in the long term, looking into the 2030s, I think there may come a time when Bitcoin starts to flip gold completely, right? And Bitcoin is still for me the safest and the most, future forward asset. It's the asset with the brightest future, but that's followed by gold. And then there's a long time nothing, right? There's definitely no fiat currencies, right? Get out of fiat currencies. Okay, so I'll leave you with this. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this, how you're planning things, and how you're seeing the metaphysical and the financial work together. And if you're interested in more of these analyses, let me know in the comments as well. Until the next time, be well and be blessed.